Back here with the Monte Carlo, and this is the video here for update on the subwoofer build. I was testing my subwoofers just for, I think it's been about 2 weeks now since I've reconed them. And on one recone I use Loctite epoxy, which is this tubing right here. I don't know if you guys ever seen this before. It goes in, it's a double barrel squeezed into one tip, and it mixes, and I guess in 5 minutes it becomes a bond. And it says that it can hold 3200 psi. It's a metal, wood, ceramic, stone, glass, tile, and most plastic. Picked this up at Lowe's. I think it's $4.98 each. These two make 4 total that I've purchased. The reason why you see this is on one woofer, which is this one, I use CA glue, and on this woofer right here I use the Loctite. CA glue failed for some reason. Now guys, bear with me, this is my first time reconing, so maybe it was my error and how I applied it, but I followed directions of most of the other videos I've seen, so I thought I was doing the right thing. But you can see there's substantial gaps within the CA glue, and I don't know how that came about in certain places. And as for the Loctite, it is evenly distributed and pressed, and everything is fine. I did follow the directions of reconing. I peeled back the old cone, took off the old spider, I cleaned the surface for the cone, where the cone's supposed to go, and I cleaned the spider surface also. And I grinded it down with a wire brush and a wire wheel, and I cleaned all the surfaces. I test fitted both cones in each subwoofer basket, and I used the printing paper method, where you would put the cone in, and you would slide printing paper on each adjacent end inside the former, which is this right here. So you would slide a piece of paper, sheet of paper here, then slide one here, then you would come around and slide one here, then slide one here, and then as it gets tighter you keep going with the process, one here, one here, one here, one here, and then you would push this up and down so it can evenly space out, and basically that would be your center. And I ended up putting 8 sheets of paper, 8 sheets of printing paper in each former for both subwoofers. 8 was the maximum mine took, where it actually had 8 sheets of paper in here, and it moved up and down freely with no obstruction or no anything like that. And what I did was I raised the recone assembly, and while it was raised I added the CA glue all the way around, and then I pressed down back on here, and as the printing paper through the former kept everything aligned, and I pressed down on both sides, and I used clamps. You can see where the residue of clamps, one here, and a few more around. I used clamps to hold it down, but I don't know if I didn't use enough CA glue in certain areas, but it's just certain gaps that I see. Now the glue does hold the spider assembly. I have no problems with that. Nothing is falling apart. On the actual cones themselves, for each subwoofer I use Loctite. I didn't use the CA glue. So you can see a little bit of Loctite right here, and that's what I use. I use Loctite for both woofer cone. But this one for the spider, I use Loctite, and over here I use CA glue. I was just testing it to see what would happen. This was my first time doing this, and I decided, try it out. But there is no coil rub. there is no damage to the subwoofer itself. Everything, you see me pushing on it, there's no rub, no coil rub, no damage. These things are playing like a beast. Same thing over here, there's no coil rubs, there's no damage. They're playing like a beast. These cones are actually softer than the other cones that I had. I guess that's in your design, that's the way they make them. You don't really have to break in the subwoofer anymore, it just comes in broken in already. But I bought these 2 packets so I can add to the gaps right here around where the CA glue failed or disappeared or got smushed to the other side and it's not visible on this side. So just for my assurance and security and let me sleep at night or let me drive the car and not knowing there's a fire in the back because I got coil rub and former blowing up and whatnot or welding itself. But you know how that goes. We're not trying to see no clouds, no white smokes coming from the trunk. That's a bad sign. So I'm gonna take the precaution of adding Loctite to the CA glue. I'm gonna sand down some of the surface so I can adhere to it. And that's just a quick update on Recone Kit as far as the 2 subwoofers go. Like I said, there's no coil rub. These guys are playing like a beast. I have tape on here to keep the alignment of where each end of the subwoofer go when I put it back in the box. That's why you see tape on here. Don't worry, it's just a method I use, so it has nothing to do with anything else other than that. But these are the Recone kits. Like I said, I can move them up and down freely. I can push them down on each side. And there is no coil rub. We have both subwoofers. Quick update. They are playing. They are breaking stuff in my car already. I'm gonna have to get a new trunk hinge right here. This one's has damage on it. So the subwoofers are back in effect, live in effect. I haven't cleaned anything yet. You can still see there's extra glue. There's all type of extra glue on the surface. I did not clean these subwoofers. All I did was glue them. I let them sit for 24 to 48 hours. I think it was 2 days. They sat in the living room for 2 days drying. And I put them in. You can still see the glue right here where I had it extra and it squeezed out a little bit, but everything's playing good. The CA glue did not fail. It just didn't it didn't connect or adhesive. The adhesive didn't cure to my liking, or so I see a small little gap in between, and I want to make sure that gap doesn't turn into problems later on. That's why I'm going to add Loctite to it. Through the former, you can see the coils down there. This design, particularly these coils, they're a little bit skinnier than the actual coil that I took off the other cones that were originally in here. So I'm assuming it's a new design for RE Audio / US amp. You can see how thin each wind is. As it's winded up and around the former, you can see how thin and skinny it is. I don't know the measurement of that versus the ones I had before, but that's how they come now. And it does the trick. It has that black coating on there. I guess it's to dissipate heat, or I don't know, maybe it's improvement on their design. Anyways, RE Audio, thanks for the Recone kit. So far everything has been wonderful, been lovely. My Crescendo 3500 is tearing these shits up, and they're taking the ass whooping. So that's the RE Audio XXX. Oh yeah, and these are dual force, so I have them wired down to 1 ohm together, as opposed to the dual 2s that were factory, which I can only get it wired down to dual 2 ohms. So a dual 4, I believe I can wire down a dual 2 and dual 1s. And the dual 2s, I can only wire them to either dual 2 or I think 0.5, which is not recommended by me. I'm not wiring these. Well, the dual 2s, I had them wired down at 0.5 ohm at one particular time. That was just to test the stupidness of myself. So that was just a stupid thing to do, wiring them down to 0.5 ohms, knowing that they're not designed for it. So that was a failure on my part, but they were already blown anyway, so I'll just test them out blown anyway. So blown. Now Recone is here. It's been 2 weeks. These cone is so soft compared to the other ones, the factory. The factory, I can't do this to them. Even right now, if I still have the factories inside, even if I go grab them and try to do this, I can't do it. So these cones, they're strong, but it feels like they've been broken in already. So I don't have to break them in to start playing some good sound. So that's the RE audio, that's XXX, that's the Recone Kits. I'm gonna add the Loctite to the CA glue, and I'll give y'all a bass update pretty soon.